Hi all, back again. Okay, another question today that I've had is how do we heal? And I thought that was just such a great question that I really wanted to answer that. So if I don't get any more, because I haven't got any more, I will go back to the jar. But today we're going to talk about how do we heal. And I remember thinking, when you go to the doctor and you go, there's a problem, I need to heal. And he says, well, where's the wound? And you go, well, it's right here. I did this to my leg or what have you. And they can see that there's a wound that needs healing. I think psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, though, we don't see the wound. And I think a lot of us don't actually think we are wounded. I think a lot of us think we're fine. Life was fine. And what they don't realise, that the biggest trauma of all that we have all experienced, and we all share this, is the fact that we landed on planet Earth. We came down to this planet from wherever, and we came out and we had to adjust to this planet. Now, I don't know about you, but this planet is not easy to navigate. There's rules, there's regulations, there's things we have to do, and it's pretty harsh here down on the planet. Now, a lot of us, and I'm not blaming parents. I am a parent, I've got 3 kids. But you know what? I did my best and I totally failed in the process. Because it doesn't matter how good a parent I was, the kids, all of us, still are traumatized by what we are having to do here on planet Earth, which is become human beings. Share the planet, share our lives, not be who we naturally are. So we come out naturally curious, full of life, happy, crying, sad, angry. And what do we get told all the time? No, stop that. No, don't be angry, don't be sad. No, don't you dare be angry. I'll give you a good hiding if you don't. I'll give you something to cry about if you don't stop crying. There's starving kids in Africa. Eat the food on the plate. We are constantly be saying, no, don't do that. No. Now, parents are just trying to socialise us. But socialisation equals trauma. I think this was one of the things I had in my jar. So the very fact that you came to planet Earth was traumatic. There's your wound. And a lot of people cannot heal something they don't know. It's like, when you go back to addiction again, if you're someone who's struggling with an addiction, it's like you have to own that. The first step is owning the fact that I'm an addict. I surrender to the fact that I have a problem, and it's called addiction. See, that's why, in a way, sometimes that's a really good point to get to, but how many of us get to that point? Because we had an okay life, and, our parents weren't that terrible, and they kind of, it was a bit poor at times, and we weren't actually given that much attention because mum and dad were too busy trying to put food on the plate. And so we rationalise all of our childhood. Oh, well, it wasn't that bad. How many clients do I get in and say, oh no, but my parents are amazing. They did I had a great childhood. And I'm like, nah, rubbish. Sorry, mate. But every single person is traumatized by being socialized on this planet. And maybe you disagree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree. This is what I believe is that problem that people have that they're not aware that they have, because something, and it might manifest in different ways for different people. Some people might end up highly addicted. Obviously they've had a lot of obvious trauma growing up. Maybe they were beaten, sexually abused, completely ignored, neglected, told to go get on with it. Maybe it was more obvious, but some of us it's more subtle because it's like it wasn't that obvious. And so we think we should be fine. You hear the should. We should be fine. I should get on with things. What's my problem? And so a lot of people feel like there's something not quite right, but they actually don't know what it is. And I think you cannot heal. So how do I heal? Well, first of all, you recognise you have a wound. And the wound happened the moment you turned up on planet Earth. The moment you came out the womb and said, here I am. It all began, the traumatization of taking this beautiful spiritual being in a physical body and saying, now navigate the planet. Well, that means stand up and walk. That means learn to talk. That means learn to get on with people. That means learn to manage your emotions, but we don't get taught that. We don't get taught to manage our emotions. We get taught to repress, deny, and avoid them. We get told to well, you haven't got a reason to be angry or sad or whatever you're feeling, so don't feel it. And for me, the biggest thing that I teach people is to have a different relationship with their emotional being. Rewire this. You have been conditioned, brainwashed, and programmed. Because that's what we all had to do when we come to planet Earth, okay? We had to be programmed and conditioned and brainwashed so we could survive the planet, so we could navigate and walk through life. And most of us do it. I reckon most of us do it okay. I know I did it in an okay way, but there was deep-seated issues inside of me. I had low self-worth. I don't think I had any self-worth. I had high anxiety. I rejected myself. I felt like I was never good enough. I wasn't lovable. I wasn't worthy. I didn't matter. And I'm not important. Now that was my, not obvious at the front of my head all the time. It was there at the back of my head. And that's why I didn't feel good. I didn't feel safe in the world. I didn't feel like I was okay. And that had deep impacts on me. I was always in fear. Fear about making a fool of myself, fear of being hurt, fear of being rejected, fear of what might happen to my kids, fear of the what if, the what if, the what if. I was driven by fear. And don't forget, as a, you know, when we're parents, we're like, no, don't run out into the road. And so we're always kind of looking worried at our kids, aren't we? No, don't put your finger in that hole. And we're trying to keep them safe. That's all we're doing. But actually, as a child, looking at this parent going, don't run out into the road. No, don't push over your brother. Don't smack. Oh, fear. So we're seeing fear a lot. And so how do you heal? Well, first of all, you recognize you have a great big, I really want to swear, fluffing wound, right? And so you have this wound inside your heart. It's this feeling of nothing's ever good enough. Nothing's ever right. Nothing's ever satisfying. Nothing's ever good enough. You always feel like there's something missing. And I think that is the wound that happens as we kind of get processed through life, conditioned, programmed, brainwashed. And of course, it's not just parents, it's everybody outside of us too. You know, you have to do well in school. And if you don't, well, what does that mean or say about you? If you're not good with other kids, maybe you're not great at playing with others. Well, what does that mean or say about you? I was not bright at school. In fact, I really, really struggled. And to learn anything, I thought it was a load of bullshit, if I'm honest, and thought it was a load of rubbish anyway. So, you know, what good is fjords, learning about geography and fjords going to help me? I wanted something practical that was actually going to help me. And that didn't happen till I was a lot older and grown up. And then I actually got practical support, how to live life, how to not hold on to all this crap that I'd held on to, not live in resentment, not feel less than. I started to think better of myself. I stopped rejecting myself. I started to think I was worthy. Now that happened over time. And so that's what I teach people. I say, okay, to heal, you need to rewire this because this has been wired. And if you don't change that, nothing's going to change. So therapy can be great, but it doesn't stick because if you haven't changed the ultimate pattern, the ultimate programming, you're just going to flip back to that. Maybe you only flip back to it when you're really stressed, but life's stressful. There's always something happening. So for me, it's about rewiring this, teaching someone how to manage their emotions differently. And we do that using inner child work. For me, that is top sort of theory to use if you're teaching someone to have a different relationship with their emotional self. So you teach people about boundaries. You teach people that once you start to think more better of yourself, you start to believe you have a right to be heard, to be understood, to feel safe. A lot of people don't even know their own reality. They know everyone else's because that's how they survive childhood. You know, I know what's going on with everybody else. And that's a survival technique. feeling like you've got to do life on your own. You know, another symptom of trauma is being overly independent. Nah, I don't need anyone. So if I'm struggling, I'm going to stay home alone, not inflict myself on anyone, not burden anyone, because I'm a burden. Because if I'm not happy, then, you know, I need to withdraw from everybody in life and stay in my bedroom and think that's going to work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. If I thought staying home alone, and maybe, you know, for the introverts, you know, you gain a bit of energy, but actually you still got to go back out into the world and face the world. And when you feel like there's something intrinsically wrong with you, that's really hard to do. And the fact is, I grew up hating myself. I literally hated everything about me. I wasn't bright. I thought I was really ugly. I hated my body. I hated everything about me. I was always in fear about the what ifs. And I was terrified of being rejected. So I had a root of rejection. It took a lot for me to work through that. But I can honestly look back and say, I am not the same person I was then because I healed. But first and foremost, just like somebody who's got an addiction, it's like, first of all, you have to own up to it and say, I think there's a wound that needs to be healed. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that, yeah, how do I heal? Well, first of all, you have to recognize that I have a wound. And that wound is causing me this, it might even be low grade. And this is why dysmorphia is low grade depression. And I think there's a lot of people that think life's shit mostly. And really I can just live this kind of mediocre average life. And I think that's quite doable. A lot of people, well, that's life. Actually, I don't think it is. I think that's living in a space where you've got this wound that you just don't actually realise you've got. Well, if you don't know you've got a wound, then how the hell can you heal it? And so it's about, if you get to the point where you know you need healing, I think doing the stuff you need to do to get healed is actually pretty straightforward. You know, because if you rewire the brain and you rewire the way you connect with your emotional being, if you recognise you are important, you are worthy, you know, you do matter, you are lovable, and you stop rejecting you. See, the only relationship really that I work with on people is their relationship with themselves. Well, of course, I hated me and then projected that out to everyone and just thought they hated me. So what, excuse me, whatever happens in here happens out there. And once I learned, and it took a long time, don't get me wrong. I didn't go see a therapist and they fast-tracked me through this. No, this took years of learning about therapy, doing therapy. It took years and years. I don't think it has to take years and years. That's why I'm do what I do, because I feel like, no, you don't have to wait years and years. If you kind of spend a bit of time, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like, you know, if you want to be slimmer, you stop eating as much, maybe go down the gym, and I don't know, you look at what you're eating, because certain foods can, I mean, all the rubbish they put in foods doesn't help. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault that we are struggling the way we are. It's not anyone's fault, but it is a problem that's working out of you and causing symptoms of trauma, which is people pleasing, a big symptom of trauma. Perfectionism, just one step away from OCD. If I don't do it perfectly, then it's not okay. All these things, feeling like you have to do it on your own, feeling like you can't reach out when you're struggling, feeling a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, feeling guilty all the time. That's another symptom. If you feel guilty all the time, if you feel overly responsible for everyone around you in your world, oh no, if they're struggling, I need to come through for them. I need to take care of them. I need to rescue and save them. If you're struggling with some of that, then you probably have this wound that maybe you don't even realise you've got, because you've rationalised it away by going, oh no, my upbringing was fine. It probably was. I'm not bagging parents here. I'm not saying they did a bad job. I'm saying just by the fact that you come to the planet, you've been born onto this planet, that was traumatising. It's a bit like, you know, you go out in the sun, and if you get sunburn, that's a trauma to your skin. But we don't call it that. We call it sunburn. But actually, that's a traumatic response from your skin, and it's telling you, oh, this is trauma happening. I've burnt my body. But we minimize everything. We repress, deny, and we minimize absolutely everything. Oh, well, your parents did the best they could. And I often say, yes, they did. But in that, they probably failed miserably, because it is damn hard. And there's no such thing. You cannot be the perfect parent. You are always going to get it wrong. You are always going to fall short. And that's not because you didn't try and you didn't love your kids. Far from it. Look at kids who have been brought up by parents who love them too much, who mollycoddle them and overly parent them, who are what we call helicopter parents. You know, it's like they're terrified of their kids, you know, and really they're just terrified of feeling their own feelings. So, you know, if I can rub my kid in cotton wool or bubble wrap, then I won't have to feel the uncomfortability if they're uncomfortable. And so we tend to, you know, we create impotent children that feel entitled, you know, kids that aren't very nice to be around, that have a screaming fit every time they don't get their own way. And so, yeah, how do we heal? I don't know. First of all, recognize you've got a wound, and as such, it needs healing. Now, then you can begin a journey of healing, but I think a lot of people don't even realize they have a wound. Some people just think, oh, well, that's just life. And it is to a certain degree. But I kind of wanted to put forward something that I feel like people don't know. I'm staggered that people actually realize landing on the planet, well, this is kind of normal. It's what we all do. It is to a certain degree, but it isn't. It isn't normal. Landing on this planet, I think, is frigging horrific. I think it's absolutely terrifying. Anyway, so if you want to heal, recognize you've got a wound. The healing part, I think, it's straightforward. I'm not saying it's easy, it's complicated. It's a bit like, you know, if you're an addict and they say just stop drinking. Well, yeah, that's in essence easy, but not easy. Yeah, it's a simple solution, but a very complex. And it's the same with healing. And a lot of people don't even remember the first 7 to 10 years of their life. They have no memory. And now that's very normal. And that's because, so this is another reason we struggle, because, well, I don't even remember what happened in the first 7 years of my life. That's because you didn't have cognitive ability. You were an emotional being, and you were imbibing things through the body. So this is why if something uncomfortable happened or a distressing thing happened to you, you won't always remember it in your head because you weren't able to think and rationalize and lay down memory, but your body will remember. And this is why if you've had now don't go digging in your memory banks, because you're not going to remember. There's just this feeling of dis-ease that's within you, as if maybe something went down when I was younger. And it did go down when you were younger. You were being conditioned and brainwashed and hypnotized. You're in that hypnotizable state. So you're being programmed, be a good little girl. You know, and this is all the ways that you have to, what you have to do so you can please me, and I'm the godlike figure in your life. And if you don't, I'm going to be very angry and reject you and abandon you. And this is what socialization's all about. And then we wonder why people are unhappy or depressed, or they have that low-grade depression, or, you know, they're doing things, they're overly busy, they're overly distracted by, you know, everything. And we have these wonderful phones that can distract us 24/7 basically. So healing is kind of the straightforward part, and it's not straightforward at all, because I think it takes a lot of courage to actually do the work. And because we don't want to think that there's a problem with us. No, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. No, I don't need help. No, it's all good. No, my family were fine. Of course they were. They were doing the best they could, but failing miserably. And it's about doing some rewiring of these aspects of us, so we can know that we are worthy, important, lovable, and stop being driven by the guilt or that, you know, need, that insatiable need that we need, that hole inside of us that we need to fill. And we do it with lots of things: drugs, sex, money, success, house, possessions. So yeah, anyway, I hope that makes sense. I am going to be doing a program, a 6-week program of the rewiring that I do online. So you just pay one-off fee. It's going to be 6 parts, and it's just something you then go and do at your own pace, in your own time. And I'm in the process of working that out online. So that's something. So even because I think it is pretty petrifying to walk into someone and tell them all the stuff. And this is not about going back over the stuff that happened to you. If you were sexually abused or raped or, you know, really harmed, beaten when you were very young, it's not about going back to that. That's sometimes more distressing than it needs to be. It's about, of course, you're not going to be able to cope with those emotions if you haven't created a safe space. For me, it's about helping you create a safe space by rewiring your mind, by telling you, showing you and teaching you how to deal with your emotions differently. When you do that, you create a safe space. And when you create the safe space, you can bring some of that emotional pain in, so you can heal it, because you can't heal it if you don't allow yourself to feel it. So they're the first 2 parts of the therapy, rewiring both mind and cognitions. And I just think that's brilliant, because we've got to create a safe space. We can't just talk about the stuff that happened to you and think you're going to be okay with it. You're not, because you're going to deal with it the same way you dealt with it then, which is repress, deny and avoid, which was a good thing. That was a good thing. You know, like we have these coping mechanisms, not that they're wrong or bad, they work for us. You might not have survived if you hadn't been able to do that. But as an adult, as a grown-up, they're probably not working for you now. And so it's about realizing you can change this, so you can hold some of that pain and therefore you can heal it, feel it and heal it. So look out for that. It's just going to be a one-off fee. It's going to be 6 sessions. But anyway, if you want the heads up and me to let you know when I've put it out, then please let me know. Just flick me a message or send me an email. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.